Are you? I hope that all is well. So most of you know that this is Autism, National Autism Awareness Month. Of course, some of you may watch this way after the month is over, but my name is Bernadette Henry, and I'm a mental health and an emotional wellness coach, and I help busy working moms overcome different obstacles in their life. And right now, I'm concentrating on moms with newly diagnosed autistic children or children that they feel may have autism, they feel that something is off and just don't know what it is at this time. So this is what I'm here to do. And a lot of times when mom have children with autism or ADHD or any other thing, a lot of times moms may not believe it. They may not want to believe it. They may say everything in their power or try to think of other things to say, okay, this is not it. See, this is not it. And it's all called denial. And let me tell you something. It's totally fine. It's no problem if you're in denial. So I was having a chat this weekend, and in these chats now, I no longer get offended, because it kind of, certain thoughts that people tell me that they have, it lets me know what the general public is actually thinking. And quite honestly, a lot of people in the general public, they think that autism is a bad thing. They think Asperger's, high functional autism, whichever word that you use to describe autism, they think it's a bad thing, as well as ADHD. But I'm here to talk about autism. And I think the reason why people may think autism is a bad thing is because of media and what media portrays. So a lot of times when people think of autism, their first thing, if they're like old enough, they may think of Rain Man. When Rain Man was institutionalized and, he used to act out all the time, and he was very particular about certain things. Like, he just did a lot of things. And I think that people hear the word autism and they just think Rain Man. They think that every autistic person is Rain Man. So, and then there's other things that happen that may be on the news, or you may read in books, or just people with word of mouth. They just say different things about people or children that are diagnosed with autism, Asperger's, high functional autism, whichever way you call it. And I was having a conversation with somebody this weekend, and they were like, well, none of my children ever had that. Why is this now? And, you have an autistic child, and then you have another child that takes medicine for ADHD, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, you know what? I just had to sit there. Like I said, I didn't become offended by it, because this is like, when people are not aware, people are just not aware. So, I took it in, and then I had to think about it, and the reason why something like this would be said. Number one, it could be embarrassment. Number two, it could be denial. Three, it's fact that people just don't know. And it's, you hear that statement that says, the more you know. And a lot of times, if you're a parent and you suspect that your child has autism, or you suspect that something is just off and you just don't know what it is yet, maybe it is autism or something else. And comments that people say, like when you bring your concerns or, to other people, they may say, oh no, this is just a phase he's going through, or he's going to learn how to read later on, or he's going to do this, or he's going to do that. And then you start to say to yourself, see, I knew that nothing was wrong. I knew everything was okay. And this is what happens, because a lot of times, and I did a video last week on this, how maybe a lot of toddler-like behavior is mistaken for autism, or autism is mistaken for like childlike behavior. So it's seen as normal, right? So a lot of times you'll take your concerns to somebody else, and they'll be like, oh, it's just a phase. They'll get over that, da, 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 da. And then you start to believe that, even though at first you suspected maybe something is off, but then these other people are in your ear and they're like, everything's okay. And then you start to believe that everything's okay. And then, in the meantime, your child is not getting the help that they need. And you may think, okay, my child is bad. My child don't listen to me. My child is defiant. No, your child needs help. Your child may possibly be autistic, and you need to take them to the appropriate people to get diagnosed if that's the case, or just to see if that's the case. And then once you learn of the diagnosis, then you kind of learn more about autism. And when your child is starting to get treatment, you then start to learn what works best for your child. Now, with autism, there are going to be behaviors. Yes, there are going to be behaviors, but if you leave it undiagnosed, like, you're not going to find out how to help curb some of these behaviors. You understand? Like, and this is a prime example. Before I found out about my son's diagnosis, he used to break all my dishes. He broke like 5 tablets. He used to bang his head on the floor, on the wall. He used to hit other kids all the time. Like, these are a lot of behaviors that my son did because I did not know. But it came to a point where I suspected that something was off. And as I did that, I did go through that phase of denial, anger, guilt, shame. I went through all of that. I'm not telling you that I didn't. I went through all of that. But I took all of that and went to get help. And it came a time where I would try to speak to people, like people that maybe didn't know anything about it, and they would dismiss me like, whatever. Everything is, your child is all good, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Now, if I would have listened to that, I would have never got my child help. Oh, your child is bad. You should just beat his ass. Give him a whipping. Do this, do that. These are things that people say when they don't know. And if you care about people's opinions more than you care about your own child, that's going to feed into your diagnosis. And it's going to feed into your denial, and you're not going to get your child the help that they need. The most important thing is your child, thank you so much, and getting them the help that they need. So what I did is, I have figured out for a while that something was off, and I did everything that I needed to do through the school to get the help. But no, the school is not going to diagnose your child. Okay, you have to take it a step further. Autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder, for lack of better words. So you need to take your child to a specialist. But I'm not gonna get all into that. I'm gonna talk about that in my webinar. But I went, after going to school, behaviors persisted, so I went beyond the school and went to go get my child the help. And once I was able to know what was up with my child, I was able to change my mind frame. So I was able to change how I thought about things, learn a little more about what his disorder or what the Asperger's was, and I was able to do things accordingly. So knowing about the sensory processing issues and knowing the kind of school environment he needs to be in, knowing which battles to fight, which were worth fighting at home. Like, for example, I remember my son, in the earlier times had went to summer school, and he just knew when he went to school, when he went outside, he wore a jacket or a coat. So I remember, and this is earlier in the phase of me finding out. I remember he wanted to wear a coat, and it was summertime, and I really tried to bargain and plead with him. But with autistic children, they have their own way of processing information, and they have to process things for themselves and reason out things for themselves. No matter what you say and how it makes sense to you, it don't make sense to him. So he used to go out, he went outside, and I'm like, see, it's hot out here, you don't need this. But I had to walk several blocks with him to the school in the coat. Yes, I was embarrassed, but he wasn't embarrassed, because he knows that when he goes outside, he wears a coat. Now he doesn't do that now, but that battle I had to learn not to fight, because had I tried to take the coat off of him or kept sitting there trying to reason with him, there was going to be no reason. That was just going to cause him to act out, to do whatever self-harming behaviors that he was doing at that time, throwing himself on the floor. It just wasn't worth it, So my point of saying this is that the more you know, the more you're aware, the more you educate yourself, the more you'll be able to tailor your behaviors and your family's behaviors, to fit that of your child. Now I know that at home people are like, but that's my child. Yes, this is your child. And no, you don't have to make this about an autistic life, but you have to still keep those things in mind. No matter how much you try to normalize your child, that is their normal. So you have to treat them according to their normal. Okay, so when you're in the beginning phases and you just think that something is off with your child, go get the help. Go get the help. Go get the help, okay? And if you have to shut down your family, if you have to shut down your friends, if you have to shut down people that are going to say things negatively, do it, okay? Because at the end of the day, the most important person is your child, is your child. Point blank, period. So, and I had to do that when I was going through the phases. I had to literally like not listen to family, not listen to friends, because their information on what autism is different from what it actually is and my perceptions. Yes, you know, doing those things, I had to like, it caused me to cry a lot. It caused me to be a little sad because it's like, okay, I wasn't supported, you know, because people are not going to support you. And I work with several moms who thought something was off, and when they went to their friends and family, their families ripped a new one in them. And I had to counsel, not really counsel, but I had to work with these women to just get the help that they need. And I was that sounding board. I was their support system. I was their accountability partners to ensure that they get the child the help that they need. And I have a client, I'm going to actually play her testimonial. I'm going to post it on social media, hopefully sometime today, of how that was her struggle. Like, she thought something was off. You know, she tried to tell her friends and family. They just totally disregarded her thoughts, her feelings. And she decided not to give her child the help until we started working together. And we worked together towards removing that barrier of what other people say to get the child the help they need. That's the most important thing. So going back to the title of this broadcast, how not to let people feed into your denial about your child's possible autism diagnosis. Like I said, if you see something, do something. If you feel something, do something. Just do it yourself. Don't consult any family. Don't consult any friends. Your best bet will be to talk to people who have went through this, who have experienced this. And I'm telling you, as a mom with a child with autism or the high functioning, because he's on the high end of the spectrum, but it still doesn't take away that he has autism. So as a mom that has an autistic child, I can tell you, like, I went through those phases, and fortunately, I was able to get my child the help that they needed ASAP, as you know, sooner better than later. And my child is doing wonderful now. And it's not to say that it takes away from the diagnosis or it takes away from the symptoms, but because I'm aware, I was able to get him into the right school. I was able to get him, I was able to, like, just my family, we're able to, you know, do things that, you know, that cater to him, and not really all about taking the attention off, because I have multiple children. So that's also another thing. I can't take like this other, like I can't take what he's going through and then take my other children and, you know, try to treat people different. It's just, I know, you know, what can cause him to act out. I know what, you know, what food he don't want to eat. I know which chair he prefers to sit in over another. And just knowing these things can help alleviate some of the things that would cause him to act out. But like I said, I cannot take it away all the way. So in light of this, I just want to tell y'all about my upcoming webinar, and it's called From Suspecting to Accepting. And what this webinar is going to do is going to help moms who are either suspect something is going on, or that child was recently diagnosed, or is just starting to go through that process. And you're having feelings of guilt, you're having feelings of shame, you're having issues, feelings of denial, anger, grief, guilt. And let me tell you something, all of those feelings are totally normal. All of those feelings are totally normal. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong for having it, because you're not. Because when you have a child, you're expecting them to be normal. So you're expecting them to develop right, develop like age appropriately, and you're expecting them to do all the things that they're supposed to do according to their milestone. So when this doesn't happen, it becomes very discouraging. And it just goes deeper than having your child with a disability. Now you start to think of their future, like, oh my gosh, like, what kind of quality of life is my child going to have? Is my child ever going to get married? Is my child ever going to get a job? Is my child ever going to go to college? Is my child ever going to get into a great relationship? Does my child have to live with me for the rest of my life? So these thoughts are valid, but you have to eventually get your child the help so that maybe they can work on their behaviors and symptoms so that they can live a close to normal life as possible as maybe they can live it, okay? And let me tell you, I watch people all the time. Like, I read blogs, I watch YouTubes and things like that of people that are high functioning, and it just gives me hope, you know, regarding my child and what they can accomplish later on in life. Because, you know, my child is very young. And I also talk to parents who's raised their children that they are older and just seeing the successes that they have, you know, and maybe your child's autistic success maybe doesn't look like your child that's quote unquote normal, but guess what? It's a success. Okay, so like I said, I'd love to invite you to my upcoming webinar, From Suspecting to Accepting, and basically kind of get out of your feelings as the mom to get your child the help that they need. And like I said, I'm letting you know that your feelings are totally relevant, but there's things that you can do to cope and ensure that you just get your child that help. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them in a comment. And feel free to share this out, because I want as many people to join this webinar and to be aware. With all of this information out here, is no reason why we're not getting our children the help that they desperately need. So thank you so much. Once again, I am Bernadette Henry, and I'm a mental health and an emotional wellness coach, and I help moms with newly diagnosed autistic children overcome their feelings so that they can get the child the help that they need. Thank you so much. Okay. So let me see if there are any questions on Facebook. You're very much welcome, Carmen. Let me see if anybody else. Hey now. All right, so that is it for today, and I'll talk to you soon. So bye-bye to Periscope. Stop broadcast. There we go. And bye-bye Instagram. Share. And bye-bye Facebook.